to what she said. I've read your statement and the concerns you raised initially, and this is the response you keep getting. What do you say to this?
Well, unfortunately, I did not catch the full extent of Fati's response. So if you can apprise me of what exactly she said, then I'll be in a better position.
What she's saying is that they still hold executive power. President Akufo-Addo still holds executive power. So nothing bars President Akufo-Addo from doing the things you are complaining about. That if you find that they've engaged in any illegality in doing their job, draw the attention of the transition team. But so far, they don't see what they've done illegally that you're complaining about.
Well, holding executive power does not permit you to do things that are irregular and unreasonable. Because executive power has never been an excuse for dabbling in such conduct. Number two, there's nothing we have said outside there that we have not stated at the transition committee meetings. In fact, the very first time this issue came up was on Wednesday, when the John Mahama side of the transition team tabled our concerns regarding several reports of mass recruitment, some of which do not meet basic recruitment standards, payments of large sums of money, transfers, promotions, and some overnight activity that will have serious fiscal impacts on the incoming administration. So we drew attention to this and said that a precedent had been set in 2016 by the MPP itself, when during the transition, Mr. Osafo, on behalf of the incoming president, wrote that they believe that all such transactions post-elections must be undertaken with the express consent of the incoming administration. We thought that this makes sense because why? With a few weeks for a new government to take over the reins of power, it stands to reason that they will be made aware of significant movements in ministries, departments, and agencies. That if government was employing en masse, or that large sums of monies are being paid to entities and businesses and individuals, they will be made aware of it so that they can factor it into their plans. It is not for nothing that before elections, a new budget is not read for the impending year. So they have what they call expenditure ahead of appropriations. In other words, they allow for a situation where only statutory payments and payments that border on emergencies and salaries and wages of workers to be made. No discretionary payment is allowed. And the reason for this is simple, so that the incoming government will have the space and time to look through our public finances and determine which priorities are to be funded. The moment you saddle the incoming administration with additional fiscal commitments and responsibilities, you throw their plans off gear. Again, if you are employing such large numbers of people into the public service, these people are going to work with the incoming administration. Their salaries and other quantities of service would have to be funded by the incoming administration. It is only fair that this incoming administration has a hand in the decisions regarding their employment. So what should happen is that as part of the transition process, all these intended recruitments and payments should be brought to the attention of the transition team. As we speak, almost all ministries, departments, and agencies have submitted their documents in respect of handing over notes. So all that they needed to indicate in these handing over notes was that at the beginning of the year, we began the process to employ, and that this is where we have gotten to. And therefore, your input is sought, or that we expect you to take over and continue the process to finality when indeed power changes hands. This basic principle has not been adhered to. And that is the reason why we have been compelled to put out a statement indicating clearly that where we find that these recruitments and payments have been done irregularly, we will reverse them. Because now, even then, there is a precedent. When the MPP took over power, there were some recruitments that had been made and some payments that had been made. They reversed all of them. So why do they think that they should be treated differently from how they treated us in the past?
So you're saying, you're asking them to follow their own precedents? What they ask of you, they should do exactly that.
Look, the principle that Mr. Osafo espoused makes absolute sense. I think any reasonable person would agree with him that yes, there has been a change of government. It is true that executive power has not been transferred to the new administration. That is a fact. Nobody can quarrel with that. But as I speak to you, Sana, the president-elect receives regular security briefings. The state of national security is brought to his attention on a regular basis, even when he has not taken over power. So if something as sensitive as national security matters are brought to his attention and he is in the know, and I would imagine that he is even allowed to make an input on what has to be done. Why are other matters being kept secret from him and his team? Why is the issue of procurement such a taboo subject that it is being done under the cover of darkness? Because there are many instances where we have found or heard that these recruitments are being done without recourse to lay down procedure and due process. We have heard, for instance, that there are instances where the persons recruited have not put in any application to be employed. They have not gone through any vetting process to determine their suitability for the jobs. They have not gone through any interview process. They have not even been made to go through medical screening to determine their fitness. And yet, they have been given backdated letters to create the impression that they were employed a while back when they were employed only recently, in the last few days. So these are matters that require critical attention and evaluation. And we demand that the transition team of His Excellency President Mahama must be made aware of these. And if we are not made aware, we will be compelled to reverse them when we take over power and find that these things have been done in a manner that undermines our ability to govern properly.
So, and let me get this. As you speak, these are not things you are detecting as part of the transition process. These are not details that have been presented to you on the table.
No. It is. We are only fortunate to have stumbled on this information because public-spirited individuals brought them to our attention. But the Akufo-Addo'S administration has not found it necessary to let us know that this is what is happening. But for these public-spirited individuals, we will not have been aware of what was happening.
I see. And you're saying you will reverse them?
Absolutely.
On what?
Because we disagree fundamentally with the process. Let me stress that we ourselves are very much interested in creating jobs. In fact, job creation was one of the key themes of our campaign and the policy platform of President Mahama in the just ended election. So we have no difficulty with any Ghanaian, be they MPP or NDC, securing a job in the public service. But such recruitment must be done in tandem with laid down procedure and laws. It must be done in a way that does not deliberately burden the incoming administration with fiscal responsibility that it is not ready for. That is the essence of the position that we are taking.
The chief of staff is on the transition team that's on the table with your team. Has this been raised with her?
We have, as I said at the beginning, everything we have said outside here has been said at the transition committee meeting since Wednesday. We have been given some assurances and some commitments that have not materialized. Hence, the need for us to inform the Ghanaian public and indicate what we will do as a remedial measure to these missteps.
I see. Before I conclude with you, my attention was just drawn to a statement that you posted in your own Facebook page about a team that has been put in place in furtherance of the promise to recover all loots. Explain to us what this team is supposed to do.
But basically, you recall that anti-corruption or the fight against corruption was a major campaign promise of President Mahama. Among others, we proposed the Operation Recover All Loots and other measures aimed at ensuring that we inject transparency, probity, and accountability into public administration. So, President Mahama wants to hit the ground running so that he can act expeditiously on this front. So, to facilitate that process and to prepare the ground for this, he has set up a 5-member committee that is charged with the responsibility of receiving and putting together complaints about corruption, reports about corruption, or information from the public and any other sources regarding acts that may be deemed as constituting corruption. And this team is supposed to work within the period of the transition to ensure that we have some information or some basis to work on when President Mahama resumes office. And it is made up of notable figures who have been instrumental in the fight against corruption over the period. The likes of my own brother, Honorable Samuel Blackwan, who is known for his anti-corruption fight, is chairing this team. The other members include Mr. Daniel Domelovo, who is the immediate past Auditor General. COP retired Nathan Akufo-Addo'S, who has tremendous experience in law enforcement, having risen to the very top of the Ghana Police Service. Mr. Martin Tebu, who is a prominent anti-corruption crusader and a private legal practitioner, and Mr. Raymond, who is well known to you for his investigative journalism that has unearthed many, many acts of corruption. Now, it is expected that this team will get to work immediately. They will in the coming days engage the public on the modality for submitting any information that one may have on corruption or corruption-related activities, so that they can look into them, put it together, and help the incoming government move speedily to address matters of corruption.
And two people of attention. I know COP retired Kofi-Boakye's recent work with the NDC, but Mr. Daniel Domelev and Mr. Martin Pebu have both agreed to be on this team?
Oh, yes, they have agreed. We could not have put out this information if the individuals had not been consulted and had not expressed their agreement to same.
Would they also be doing, you're saying they are receiving information, would they be doing investigations?
No, at this stage, they are only collating information regarding corruption or suspected acts of corruption. They are not members of government yet, and they do not have the power to conduct investigations. They will be receiving source material for potential investigations into these acts of corruption.
Well, Felix, thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
A pleasure.
And congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Felix Kwakye Ofosu, spokesperson Mahama Transition Team, Member of Parliament-elect for Abra Sebu Kwamankese. We're going to Parliament starting 7th January 2025. Well, so those are two separate